Hello everyone, this is Wolf, and we are back for more Besieged Engineer, or Space Engineers. In today's episode, I'm going to do something a bit different. I got the grinding pit up and running, and it's working wonderfully, but I'm getting a little tired of running and hiding every time a drone shows up. And as you can see, I've got two that have decided to hop in. So we've got both of them have Gatling turrets, a stinging adversary, and a fleeting rival. Now I can wait for them to lose power and fall out of orbit easily enough, but I don't really want to. Huh, that's interesting. It's bright. Ah, that's the lights in the tunnel. Okay. So what's producing that? So, sorry. Just got distracted for a moment. But today I'm going to be doing a new build, a more combat-oriented build. For the moment, I'm going to have to leave these doors sealed. But I can work around it. Now, come on. It's going to take off for me. There we go. Now, in order to do that, I need some space. To get that space, I'm going to maneuver around over here. I can leave this hovering for quite a while without issue. I'm going to put in another connector. Should probably make sure I have stuff for the appropriate conveyor tubes as well. 400 meters is all that separates me from the drones right now. Not ideal. Probably go 2 more over. Or putting a connector in. Yeah, that'll work. Now, this is a temporary setup here. This is not going to be in any way, shape, or form permanent. Small steel tubes. Alright. And this is just so I can get this all welded up without having to worry about the scaffolding. So, structural components and motors. So, a little bit of stuff on the side here, but now I can dock my mining ship effectively if I were looking the right way. Now, I do realize I'm going to come dangerously close to that light, but I don't think I can avoid it. There. Locked in. And I can still get in and out without too much difficulty. So, the grinding pit works like a charm. Should still be able to fit a drifting pursuant. I'm not sure why I almost said fleeting rival first time. Even with the change in size here. I'm not super keen on it, but I did have to raise the doors up an extra block because the opening, things were still flying through it. Suppose I could have put a door on either side and just made a small little 2-space opening in the center, but oh well, this prevents almost all of the random grids from flying out. So, alright. Let's fill our hydrogen. And then grab everything we will need to begin building a new ship. Alright. Let's plop landing gear down. I'm going to build a bit of a gunship. Something I can easily park in this hangar space and still have room to maneuver things around. To do that, I'm going to need something that's relatively compact. that said, it will still need cargo space. It will still need some of the other functional components that will go in here, which is an O2H2 generator. And it will, of course, need its cockpit. I think for this particular design, I'm going to go with something a little different. Okay? I'm going to go with either the fighter cockpit or the industrial cockpit. Since I used the industrial cockpit in this one, and it ended up dropping it a bit lower, I think this time I'm going to use the fighter cockpit. No particular reason other than I feel that it'll work. Right. So let's start first with our cargo container. Then we will put our fighter cockpit directly attached to it where its conveyor port is. Linking that up. And then the O2H2 generator goes on the back here. There is a reason I'm doing it this way. Alright. Let's do a little bit of welding here. Large steel tubes, metal grids, and displays. Alright. And bulletproof glass. With any fighting ship, you need to make sure you weld everything up as much as possible. Yes, you can get away with not welding up some of the components, but since it's going to be in combat, it's going to take hits. If it's going to take hits, you don't want there to be any weaknesses in the design. Alright. Plus, it's in general just a bad idea to build a design that can't take a hit. Now, as a good practice in any combat design, you should build it with taking damage in mind everywhere that it can be expected to reasonably take damage. Alright? That means you need to have the ability for it to weather the hits. Why do I say it this way? Because if your ship is going to take a hit and shatter, that's not very well designed. It's not very structurally sound, it doesn't have a lot of control to it, and overall, a hit in the right place will ruin your day. What I'm doing right here is doubling up on the attachment points for everything. Actually, I'm going to do the same thing along the bottom here as soon as I place the next little bit of fun. Alright. Now the bottom of the fighter cockpit is a nice broad flat space. Alright. However, you can work around that. I'm going to put an under-the-nose gun on it. Alright, this is an under-the-nose turret. Alright, then this is going to be hooked up and linked up to everything else. So, I need my small conveyors. Won't need large conveyors in this design much. So, and these small conveyor tubes are going to be plugged in every place where a normal curved one would be. Why? They can take more hits because they have more components. So altogether the best approach? Not necessarily, but it will allow them to take a little bit more. For the Gatling turret, its range is only 600 meters. I'm going to turn off idle movement, turn on missiles, and turn off target neutrals. Okay, it's already turned off. Why? Because the defense of this ship is going to be up to these turrets, which I'm going to put several others. Alright, I need some metal grids, small steel tubes. Alright. So, let's get this stuff welded up. Now you'll notice I haven't put power in this design yet. That is correct. In actuality, I'm going to put a multitude of power sources in this design. Why? It works. Now, for the main weaponry on the fighter, I'm going to use these conveyor ports, further plumbing everything up and giving it attachment points, and then putting the standard Gatling guns on it, which I think I can get with the, nope. On the front here. Alright, these are the guns that I will directly control myself. My game's deciding it is not happy right now. Along with putting a camera block in here once I finish up the nose cone. So, without any engines, this fighter already has a lot more firepower than the opponents it's going to be facing. But it isn't done yet. All right. Oops. Let's make sure that's facing the right way. I'm going to put steel plates around these to provide, once again, additional attachment points and a little bit more health and armor coverage. It may not seem like it's going to make a huge difference, but each one of these armor blocks should be able to take a hit. All right. Actually, they should be able to take more than one hit, but that is just, for now, one hit each is an achievable goal. So the more of these you have in the area, the more hits they can take. Now, I know I'm still using the same aesthetic design that I used for the other ship, and for frankly, the floor and walls around here. I will fix that once I get this fighter fully built. I'm just not going to mess with painting right now. And part of that fully building of this is going to include changing out armor stripes for heavy armor once I get it constructed. Because I very rarely settle for just the minimum, which is what light armor essentially is. A little bit of heavy armor, while expensive, will provide a lot more protection and coverage. Now, in these spaces, I'm going to put armor blocks, and then I'm going to meld all this together. So the easiest way to do that is probably with these plates. Yes, the turrets will stick out, but they will be somewhat sheltered from fire. And we can work around any inconsistencies and problems that may arise as a result of that, and still have a flat space in the center which will be protected for our targeting camera. Now, a targeting camera is very advantageous when you're on the attack, because it will allow me to have greater accuracy. I will not be using any more Gatling guns, so that's fine. Now, you want to, when placing a camera, make sure the word camera is up at the top and the white dot is in the bottom left-hand corner. Otherwise, badness will happen. So there we have essentially the nose cone of our fighter. We've got cargo storage hidden behind a bit of an extra attachment points. I could put armor blocks in here, probably will not, and I'll explain why in a moment. Right now we need power, so I'm going to put some batteries in here. Redundancy, redundancy, redundancy. You never, ever in a combat design want to have just one of something. So, in this particular design, I'm putting in smaller batteries, yes. Will they be helpful? A little bit. Are they essential? Yes. Why are they essential? That's the question, though. The reason why they're essential is they will actually provide that little bit of extra oomph, just like in the main design, that will make a combat ship really capable. If you're flying around in a combat capable ship and its power is maxed out, you're going to run into trouble. You're going to run into a lot of trouble. However, if you're running around in a design like this, and power is not maxed out, then you're doing fairly well. Now, for the next little bit of firepower, I'm going to put 2 small conveyors on. Then I'm going to broaden the wing here. And to do that, I'm going to need number 5. That's the wrong block. That's my tip. There we go. because a turret is going to go on this wing. Could anchor it there, but I need something flat to set it on. So that's what I'm doing right now. Easiest way to do it would be that. Like so. So it's going to have 3 turrets, 2 on either side, and 1 on the nose. These will provide it with defensive fire. As well, if you're concentrating on maneuvering, they will allow you to survive that long to concentrate. So, along here, I'm going to weld these blocks up because these will actually be part of the main design. Now, you generally want to avoid broad expanses of flat armor. You can get away with it in certain designs, but for the most part, it's not the best idea. Now, tucked in behind each of these is going to be another battery. Like I said, redundancy, redundancy, redundancy. All of this extra little bit of redundancy will pay off. Because when I take a hit, well, I may lose one battery, but I'm not going to lose more than that. Let's grab a few more metal grids so I can finish that off. And before I do, I'm going to go into the control panel, go to the Gatling turrets, idle movement off, missiles on. Now, why is it so important that they target missiles? A lot of people will say, but targeting missiles doesn't do anything. I'm going to actually change up this bit here. And in one sense, they would be right. Targeting missiles is not very effective. However, it does better than not targeting missiles and just allowing yourself to take the hits, which is, in my frank opinion, worse. In my opinion, to be very frank, much worse. If you're just allowing yourself to take the hits, why bother have armor and defenses in the first place if you're going to be flying around in a tank? So, will I design... I want like that. I want the little corner there. Sorry, I'm just thinking about visibility, and this blocks off less of the window. Yes, I can fly and fight in third person. Should I? Probably not. Now, let's go and place these blocks in to broaden our wings a bit. Oops. Weld that up. Now, the large conveyor ports in the bottom of the Gatling turret are useful in many circumstances, but I don't think I'm going to use them this time around. Why? Well, I would find a use for them, but I don't think it's going to be something that I'm going to need to use at this time. If I really wanted to make this a truly defensive bombardier type, then I would put missile launchers underneath and then put a conveyor frame between here. But I don't think I'll need that kind of firepower. Not to mention I don't have missiles. So it's a moot point either way. So let's fill in this space. Except there. Let's fix that. That was a crash. Let's hop into spectator cam and see what happened. Stinging adversary literally fell from the sky. Where'd that fleeting rival go? It's not hovering up here in the atmosphere, is it? No? Stinging adversary, drifting pursuant. I might be in the clear to go out salvage again. Guess these things run out of power a lot faster than I thought. No, that's the old piece from before. That's just a random grid to grind down. Alright. Back to our combat design. Now, the light armor is going to comprise the majority of the stuff that I'm going to work on today. Alright, I will work on heavy armor, maybe not necessarily today, but in a later episode for sure. But at the moment, what I'm making right now is just the general frame. It will take, and it is ideally going to take, a lot more than just what I've done so far to build this. Because I'm going to make this the most maneuverable type of fighter that I know, and that does require some unique approaches in its design process. Why is that important to mention? Because the most maneuverable type of flyer that I know that uses atmospheric thrust involves the use of rotors. Yes, I will be making this a vector thrust ship. Now, before you guys freak out and say, but wait, vector thrust ships, one hit to the rotor head and you're domed. Correct. I'm fully aware of that. Which is why this isn't going to be your typical vector thrust ship. I almost never build anything in the expected sense. If I'm going to build something, I'm going to build it to last. And in this case, that means I'm going to build something that isn't typical of a vector thrust ship. Which will be my camera, or my mouse will cooperate. Where did the 1x1 wheel go? Which will be to place 1x1 wheels in there and build an armor sheath around it to the attachment point of the actual thruster. Okay? Which means that while, yes, the rotor will be exposed a little bit, it's only so exposed as the rest of the design allows. Alright. Now I need to lock those rotors before I forget. Otherwise the designing process on here will be very bad. And lock. This way I will be able to mount the large atmospheric engines as nacelles directly onto the armor block, and yet still have them be armored up enough in order to appear well protected. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Like so. Now, the ship is broad. Doesn't have a whole lot in terms of length. That's intentional. Right? The majority of the functionality of this ship is going to be backed up in redundancies upon redundancies. So, one of the ways I'm going to do that is even if those nacelles get shot off, I'll still be able to control the ship and fly. Because there will be reverse thrusters built into the design. There will be side-to-side thrusters built into the design. Which is why there's this broad flat space under here. I can put the side-to-side thrusters in there and shield them from the outside, so they don't get hit by fire. So I can continue maintaining maneuverability and control, even in and under heavy fire. Let's remove this block. And did I grind that battery? No. And its companion block on the other side. Because these are also going to be some of the upward thrusters. And just like that, even though vertical thrust is going to be one of the prime... I'm out of steel plates. That's why it won't let me place it. That will be one of the cardinal design aspects of this. No matter what damage I take, everything is backed up. So, with that in mind, I'm going to jump ahead until I have all these thrusters placed and welded up. Alright, I've welded up the thrusters, and right here is the basic design I had for the armor around the nacelles. I'm going to continue adding to this and building on it. Okay, but first I needed to look at what my options were for putting the armor on it. Because it's a small, narrow space, there's only so many options available of what I can do to put there. I think I may be forced to actually try something a little bit different on these tips. So if I were to put these in here, that would end the tips a little bit earlier than I want. So I may grind these away. Extend the nacelle. The nacelles will take damage. I have to anticipate that and be prepared for that. For this space, however, I wanted to make sure that I was adequately explaining what I had in mind for this. Because there's now a subgrid here, okay, I can go into the rotors and adjust the offset. All right, the rotor displacement, I'm going to max it out at 11 centimeters. It may not seem like much, but what that will allow me to do is place half armor blocks in this area. Now, I'm going to probably do a design like this. Where there's a bit more protection from the sides. And then we'll use something that won't quite look right, but will still fit in to a point to fill in the edge. Just to make sure everything is all structurally sound and well protected. With the displacement as it is, I can now operate this, that was the right position, oops. I can now operate the rotor in flight mode without having it rub. Now the rubbing will create clang, will create unusual physics events, and will mean that I need to put gyroscopes in this. You should also point out I have not yet put main power or gyroscopes in. Actually, since I'm concerned about power, because those batteries are draining very fast, fully depleted in 40 minutes, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and turn them off. Okay? Now, these wheels will provide a little bit of extra friction resistance, which means that when I create something that fits into this space, they will also give me a little bit extra resistance. Right, so I can even go in and modify the wheels themselves, I believe. Nope, I can't. So, in that case, they are just going to be a block in there that can take a few hits. Doesn't matter. It'll do its job. Now, a little bit of light armor in these sections. And then, doesn't need to be anything special. Just needs to provide a little bit of a cap, which we can then inset into that slot. So let's start with placing these in. Like so. And then, like so. Now that leaves the rotor part visible at the moment. That's going to change. Bullets can be ridiculously and astonishingly random in their interactions with grids like this. So you want to make sure that there's every opportunity for it to hit something other than a vital component such as that rotor whenever possible, which is what I'm doing right now. Currently there are no blocks touching. It's the ideal. We want to keep it that way. We also want to make sure that everything is as structurally sound as possible during flight. So let's get rid of that. And finish welding up that block. Okay, that was stupid. God damn it. I just drilled. All right. Now we drop the rotor down to 5 centimeters. All right. Well, still sticking out a bit. The upper limit needs to be unlimited, actually. Need to leave those as are. I clicked on the wrong thing. Let's do 5 centimeters. 0.5, okay. Alright, I'll just have to drag it then. To about 5 centimeters of displacement. And now you can see, from head on, line up with the grid, it's very difficult to actually get a shot on that spot. I'm going to make it even more so with the further rotor displacement. Okay, I could go all the way into the negative, invert exactly what I did, and now this is stuck deep inside of that protective shell. This could spin freely and not interact with any of these. How? Well, let's test it. Let's set its velocity at 2 revolutions per minute. Turn our batteries on. And disable the rotor lock. All small little things that I keep forgetting I had it. Per minute, rotor lock, and it's not doing anything. No, let's not go ridiculous with it. Batteries are on, the rotors. We now have identified the main concern. It's resistance. Okay, so 10 centimeters should work. It is now able to rotate in that space. This is a little bit of tweaking that goes into a lot of designs that needs to be very carefully done. So I can see it right there. Let's go with negative. Oh, let's go out here. Let's go out to the maximum where it was before. It's spinning freely. Now we need to reduce that just enough so that way it will still be able to work but not clang. So let's reduce that down to 0 centimeters displacement. Get to there. 1 millimeter displacement. It's still rotating just fine. But if I try looking at this, there's only the area on the side here where I could hope to hit that component. All right. Meanwhile, this is inset in the divot that's been made there. So let's try reducing its displacement into the negative. Let's say negative 3 centimeters. It's still rotating, which is good. It means that as I'm shooting it, I'm going to hit the armor block that's going to go right here. Or I'm going to hit this without hitting the rotor. That will protect it. And overall, protect the design. If I wanted to, I could have buried this rotor deep in the space underneath the turret here and allowed it to have this whole long shaft for it to spin with and rotate freely in. It's something I've done before in other designs as well. But I don't really feel a need to do it in this design. Now, rotors, lock. That's strange. There. Applied that so that way I could continue working on this without having it spin around. So, I'm going to continue on this design next time. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. This has been Wolf.